It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of August 9th, 1996. We only got 4 movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. And we're starting off with a film that just makes you ask so many questions, but really, the one question you really have to ask yourself is, why? Why this film? It's Robin Williams and Francis Ford Coppola's Jack.
Nature has given us all an internal clock. Your son's seems to be ticking faster than usual.
But he's healthy.
Absolutely.
However, his cells are developing at 4 times the normal rate. If this continues throughout his life, by the time he reaches age 10, he could
Appear to be an ordinary, full-grown, 40-year-old man.
I'm telling you, he's our age, but he looks 40.
Jack Powell is a grown-up on the outside,
Why ain't he in school?
but on the inside,
Marco!
Polo, he's all boy.
Don't touch me! Do you think that Jack should start going to public schools? I don't think he can fit in.
just can't sleep out of scare, Jake.
Can I sleep in here? Yeah, of course, buddy.
Are you sure he's ready for this?
The rest of the world I'm worried about. Now, he's about to embark on the biggest adventure of his life.
Everybody, this is Jack Powell.
The 5th grade.
Whoa, no way! Jeez, he looks like my dad.
Look at your hairy arms and your eyebrows. Yeah, he has receding hairline. How old are you?
I'm 10.
You're either not 10 or you're a freak.
I'm not a freak. You're a freak, Four Eyes.
He's 10.
Hey, big guy, you shoot hoops?
Me?
No, the 40-year-old kid behind you.
My mother's coming in to meet the principal today.
So?
Well, you're going to be the principal. So tell me, what happened to Principal McGee?
Threw up. Yeah, he had the squirts. He had the diarrhea.
Oh, boy, that's more than I needed to know.
You know, the maximum weight up here is 150 pounds. I don't think this is a good idea.
If you want to have lunch or something, we can talk about Louie and what do you think?
It's bad for him. Hollywood Pictures presents Robin Williams
Unstoppable!
in the story of a boy
Did Jack come out and play?
who made every moment count.
When I grow up, I want to be like the big guy. My best friend, Jack.
Okay, listen, then I gotta go. No, I really gotta go. Number 1.
Jack. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
So, as you can see here, Robin Williams is playing a 10-year-old boy in a 40-year-old man's body. Now, this is based off of an actual disease called Werner syndrome, and Werner syndrome is basically a form of progeria, which is a disease that's it doesn't really make you look 40, and it's actually deadly usually around adolescence. You lose your hair, you're very short, you're like an elderly person. It's a disease that is nothing like the one seen in this movie, and that's one of the many things I could say that's definitely wrong about this movie, is that they can't even get this disease right, and Robin Williams himself doesn't even act like a legitimate 10-year-old in this movie. I mean, he really does not. There could be some good ideas here with this storyline. There could be some interesting things you could tell with a story like this. I mean, but we've seen this done we've seen a story similar to this done much better in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which basically did it the opposite way around, where Brad Pitt's character was born as an old man, and as he gets older, he regresses down to a baby. That worked. That worked because of a great script. That worked because of a great concept. This does not, and I love Robin Williams, and I love Francis Ford Coppola, and I love most of the people in this movie, but man, you guys missed the mark on this big time. Like, Francis Ford Coppola, I can't believe he actually said yes to this. And not only that, one of the writers of this movie actually went on to go on to direct the Purge franchise. James DeMonaco was one of the writers on this. And Francis Ford Coppola, I mean, it wasn't like his career was at a tailspin at this point. I mean, he had just done Bram Stoker's Dracula and The Godfather Part 3, which were not the biggest hits, but they weren't massive failures. But this movie is just so unbelievably bad. I mean, it's a really bad movie. Like, it's a film that I saw as a kid. As a kid, I didn't mind it, but then again, I was only 7 years old. I really didn't know I really didn't know what exactly a good movie and a bad movie really were at that point. As I remember seeing this, I think I actually remember seeing this in the theaters. I think it was part of like a sneak preview event that they had for this movie. We went to go see it, and I remember liking it as a kid, but as I've grown up, I've realized that, yeah, this movie really does not work as much as they want it to. Like, no matter what, yeah, like Robin Williams can be very good in a lot of movies, but this is one of those ones where the whole thing just feels so discombobulated. I mean, Robin Williams, he's trying his best here. God bless him for it, but it's just too much for him to handle with this. It's not helped by the fact that the script is pretty much all over the place. There's many scenes in this movie that add nothing to the main plot of the story. It's just stuff to waste time. It's just stuff to do there's a whole subplot towards the end of the film where there's a part where Jack basically ends up having a heart attack and goes to the hospital, and he's basically being told that he has a severe strain, could have been a rare form of anemia, which is a rare disease, basically chest pains, pressure, that type of stuff, and that because of his Werner syndrome, his internal clock is starting to run out. So basically, his parents basically say, we got to drop you out of school, which basically he gets upset. He goes out to find the kid of the, no, I'm going to remember this, the mother of one of the kids, played by Fran Drescher, who he had an interaction with early on, and there's this whole sequence that's just absolutely pointless, because you could have easily taken that out of the story and it would have had no impact on what happens after that. Like, basically, he's stuck in somewhat of a depression, and basically that day comes when he realizes that, hey, I'm ready to go back. Like, and basically that whole segment I was talking about could have easily been knocked out, and we could have just went from his parents saying, we'll drop you out of school, to him going into that deep depression of the fact that he can't be at school. But no, let's add in that pointless sequence so we can have more of Fran Drescher in this movie, which I'm not against at all. I like Fran Drescher. I think she's very funny, but man, like, that whole sequence is just absolutely pointless in this movie altogether. And like, it also doesn't help that the music in this movie is just so off on so many levels. This is Michael Kamen. This is the guy that did the Die Hard music. Like, this is the guy who's done so many great musical scores in his career, and the serious moments in this movie are filled with this wacky, cartoonish music that just feels so out of place. I have no idea what the hell they were thinking when they said to put this music in some of these critical scenes. It's just like, it's a mess on so many levels, and the casting in here is actually not that bad. You have a really good cast in here. You know, I mentioned Robin Williams. I mentioned Fran Drescher, Diane Lane playing his mother, Jennifer Lopez, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby has a good role in this movie. There are other notable names in here. Brian Kerwin playing his dad. I mean, like, it's not a bad idea but you need really good screenwriters to make this work, and a good director too. But this just feels like it was just something that was just so discombobulated on so many levels, and just feels like they're forcing an Oscar. This feels like another one of those Oscar baitish movies, because Robin Williams hadn't won an Oscar up to this point. You got Robin Williams working for Francis Ford Coppola. There's a chance that if they work their magic together, this could actually lead to something, and it really doesn't. Like, it really, when you look at this movie, going back to it, it's just like, it's just a mess on so many levels. It's a movie that just didn't work, and it doesn't work because the writing is not that great. The storytelling isn't all that great. The comedy isn't all that good. The dramatic moments are not that good. The music is so off-key. It's just a mess of a movie, man. And I love Robin Williams, and I think he's one of the greatest people that we've ever entertainers of our lifetime. But he's made a lot of bad movies, and this is definitely one of those really bad movies that I just can't recommend it. I mean, even for nostalgic sake, it's a film that's just not that enjoyable. It's just a film that is just, it's lackluster. It's a film that just fails on nearly almost every single level. And it really, when you look at it, you really don't know if a good rewrite could actually fix this or not. But that's just my thoughts on it. That's Jack. That's the big movie that came out, and it's just a disaster on so many levels. It's not a good film at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is the sequel to Escape from New York, with Kurt Russell returning as Snake Plissken, John Carpenter's Escape from L.A.
Welcome to the theater. For everyone's enjoyment, we'd like to remind you of the following rules. No talking. No smoking. No littering. No red meat. No freedom of religion. And remember, all marriages must be approved by the Department of Health. Failure to obey these rules will result in immediate loss of citizenship and deportation to the island of Los Angeles. Enjoy the show.
Your rules are really beginning to annoy me.
We ran a psycho profile on him using a database of 5 million sociopathic personalities. He hit the bottom of the curve.
Catches on quick, doesn't she?
This town loves a winner.
Let's say we play a little Bangkok rules. Nobody draws until this hits the ground. You ready? Draw. You got a problem with that?
So, when it comes to sequels that come out after a long period of time in between films, let me put it this way. I have a criteria with sequels. Usually the best sequels that we usually get usually come between maybe 2 to 5 years, depending on what the movie is, depending on how the lasting longevity of it is after the movies come out. Like, for example, like there's been rare examples where we've gotten sequels that have actually been better than the original film long after the original film came out. I mean, we just had Top Gun Maverick, which was a great film. Mad Max Fury Road, which was a great film. Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4 each came out nearly 10 years after each other, and Toy Story 3 had come out nearly 11 years after, almost 12 years after the original, the second film did, and that was a great film too. I mean, it can be done, but you know, it doesn't always happen all the time. This one is, of course, coming out 15 years after the original Escape from New York did, and I won't say that it's a bad movie, but it's definitely not. It wasn't worth the hype building it up for the last 15 years to have Kurt Russell come back and you get this movie here. And I mean, really, it just doesn't have that lasting longevity that Escape from New York had. It's not that it's a bad movie per se. There are still some really good ideas in it. And Kurt Russell still gets some pretty good moments of Snake Plissken in here, but it feels like Snake himself has just become kind of a retread of the 90s action here. It was like in that trailer, he's talking so softly and yet so threatening at the same time. Like we've seen so many movies where action stars have talked that same way and done it so much better. And to me, I think that's where the part of the movie kind of falls off a bit. Some of the action sequences in here are still very nicely done. There are still some good moments in here, but when you compare it to the original Escape from New York, that movie just works so much better. But this feels like a movie that it was basically trying to satirize the genre while also exploiting it at the same time, which it could have been something pretty amazing, but it really isn't when it's all said and done. It's a film that is such a mixed bag. It's not a bad movie per se, but it's not a great film either. Like, you never really get the full sense that this was what we've been waiting for since the last movie came out. And this is the end result of it. We get a sequel that's okay, but definitely could have been a whole lot better. Maybe if this had come out a couple of years after Escape from New York, then maybe it could have been something really special, but as it is, it's definitely lackluster compared to the original film. It has its moments, but not enough for me to say to recommend it. I would only say maybe for a one-time watch, it's probably worth it. But other than that, though, Escape from L.A. really isn't all that great of a film. So that's Escape from L.A. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Basquiat.
He was a struggling young artist.
How long do you think it takes to get famous? 4 years? 6 to get rich?
He lived on the streets.
You look like you could use a scrub.
I'm clean. Then you're gonna have to hang out with famous people. You know? Make friends with the right blonde people. Like Andy Warhol.
Well, that's me, you know?
Kubrick's piece?
Gee, ignorant art. Oh, that sounds good. Smooth. Gee, it didn't work very much on these. I can give you like 5.
You don't even work on your stuff.
So this is, of course, a film about the legendary artist John Michael Basquiat, who's here played by Jeffrey Wright. And the film basically follows his story from growing up from his roots in Brooklyn to becoming the unique artist that he eventually became. And you see a lot of notable names in this movie, including David Bowie playing Andy Warhol, Gary Oldman playing Julian Schnabel, who's the director of this movie. This is actually the first time an American painted film had been written and directed by another artist, and Gary Oldman plays him in the movie here. You have Michael Wincott, Dennis Hopper, Parker Posey, Christopher Walken, Willem Dafoe, Claire Forlani, Courtney Love, Tatum O'Neal, Benicio del Toro. It's got some pretty interesting names in here. A really good cast overall here. As far as the movie itself goes, I don't really know too much about it. I've never seen it before. I will say, though, that this guy has directed another movie I really liked, Diving Bell and the Butterfly. He also did Mural. 2 very solid films, so I wouldn't be surprised if this actually ended up being pretty good. I mean, the critical reviews for it are pretty good too, so it could be pretty interesting. I don't really know too much about the artist himself either, so yeah, I really don't know if this movie is actually that good or not, but it's something I definitely would want to check out one day if I ever find it somewhere. So that's Basquiat. Let's go take a look at our last movie here, and that is Flirt.
What time's your flight?
7.
What do you want me to say?
I want you to tell me if there's a future for me and you.
A future, huh?
Yes.
How can I answer?
Yes or no.
How are you, Bill? Mind if I sit down? No, why should I?
So you got a story here that takes place in New York, Berlin, and Tokyo. Each segment uses the same dialogue in here. You have a story that takes place in New York where you have this one guy struggling to decide whether he has a future with this girl, played again by Parker Posey, while attempting to restrain an angry husband of a woman who thinks he might be in love with, and for a woman he thinks he might be in love with. In Berlin, White has a similar experience, and the events that befall Miho in Tokyo take a more dramatic turn. So you basically have 3 different stories that have the same dialogue, but all have different, unique turns at how they present the story. That's really all I know about this movie. Like I said, Parker Posey's in here, Martin Donovan, Bill Sage, director Hal Hartley, Harold Pinner Jr. from Lost, Maria Schrader, Michael Imperioli. It has some notable names in here, but that's really all I know about this film. It's a film that could have some interesting promise to it, especially with the concept being the same segments, using the same dialogue. And but other than that, though, that's really all I know about this one. So that's another quick one on that one, Flirt. So with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we take a look at the films of August 16th, 1996, including Kevin Costner and Rene Russo in Tin Cup. We also have Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes in The Fan. Thora Birch in the film Alaska, with also Vincent Kartheiser at Mad Men fame. The second Tales from the Crypt movie, Bordello of Blood. Jamie Lee Curtis in House Arrest, and also Small Faces. So 6 movies to look at next time. We'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, as always, take care.